Today we're diving deep into the story of a man who changed the course of Roman history forever, a figure whose name echoes through the forests of Germany, Arminius. Who was he? A Roman hero? A German traitor? Or the first true unifier of the Germanic peoples? Let's find out. Our story begins around 18 BC, in the heart of what the Romans called Magna Germania, the vast untamed lands east of the Rhine River. Arminius was born into the Cherusci tribe, a powerful Germanic people, but he wasn't just any Cheruscan. He was the son of a chieftain named Segima. This meant he was born into a life of privilege and responsibility. At this time, Rome, under the ambitious Emperor Augustus, was pushing its borders deeper into Germania. The legions were a seemingly unstoppable force, building forts, roads, and imposing Roman law. To secure their power, the Romans had a clever strategy. They would take the sons of local chieftains as hostages. These boys were brought to Rome, given a first-class Roman education, military training, and even Roman citizenship. The idea was to Romanize them completely, so they would return home as loyal puppets of the empire. Arminius and his brother Flavus were among these chosen sons. So, the young German prince found himself in the bustling heart of the Roman world. He learned to speak Latin fluently, he studied Roman military tactics, and he embraced Roman culture. He was a gifted student and an even better soldier. He joined the Roman army, serving as a commander of a Germanic auxiliary cavalry unit. He fought bravely for Rome, earning the prestigious rank of equestrian, a knight of the Roman order. To everyone in Rome, Arminius, now bearing a Latinized name, was a shining example of a successfully assimilated barbarian. He was trusted, respected, and seen as a valuable asset to the empire. But while Rome saw a loyal subject, something else was brewing in Arminius's heart. As he served in the Roman military, he saw firsthand the might of the legions, but he also saw their arrogance. He witnessed how they treated his people, imposing heavy taxes and showing little respect for their traditions. The so-called civilizing mission of Rome felt more like a brutal occupation. The loyalty he was supposed to feel towards the empire began to curdle into resentment. He was a Roman knight, but he was a German prince first. By the year 9 AD, Arminius had returned to his homeland in Germania. The region was under the governorship of a man named Publius Quinctilius Varus. Varus was an experienced administrator, but he was arrogant and complacent. He underestimated the Germanic tribes, viewing them as disorganized savages who were all but conquered. He moved through the territory with 3 of Rome's finest legions, the 17th, 18th, and 19th, along with auxiliary units and a massive train of camp followers. He was confident, perhaps too confident, that his presence alone was enough to keep the peace. This was the moment Arminius had been waiting for. While pretending to be Varus's loyal advisor and friend, he was secretly forging a coalition of Germanic tribes. This was no easy task. The tribes were fiercely independent and often fought among themselves. But Arminius used his charisma, his military knowledge, and his understanding of Roman vulnerabilities to unite them against a common enemy. He warned them that if they didn't act now, their freedom would be lost forever. He convinced the chieftains of the Marsi, the Chatti, the Bructeri, and others to join his secret alliance. The plan was a master stroke of deception. Arminius fed Varus false intelligence, reporting a minor localized rebellion in a remote area. He assured Varus that he and his auxiliary forces would handle it, and that Varus should march his legions through the unfamiliar territory to quell the uprising and assert Roman authority. Crucially, Arminius persuaded Varus to take a shortcut through a place the Romans had never been before, the Teutoburg forest. Varus, completely trusting his loyal German ally, fell for the trap. He marched his entire force, an army of nearly 20,000 men, into the dense, marshy, and treacherous woods. The Roman legions were designed for open field battles, where their discipline and formations were unbeatable. In the narrow, muddy paths of the Teutoburg forest, they were a sitting duck. Their long column was stretched out over several miles, unable to form a proper battle line. To make matters worse, a torrential rainstorm began, turning the ground into a quagmire and making their shields heavy and useless. Then the trap was sprung. From all sides, the unified Germanic warriors, led by Arminius, launched their attack. They knew this terrain like the back of their hands. They used guerrilla tactics, launching devastating hit-and-run attacks, hurling javelins from the cover of the trees, and then melting back into the forest. The Romans were thrown into complete chaos. They were disoriented, bogged down, and unable to fight back effectively. Their superior training and equipment meant nothing here. The battle, or rather the massacre, lasted for 3 days. The Roman legions were systematically annihilated. They fought with desperation, but it was hopeless. The Germanic warriors gave no quarter. In the end, seeing all was lost, Governor Varus and his senior officers fell on their own swords, choosing suicide over the humiliation of capture. 3 entire legions, the pride of the Roman army, were wiped out. Their coveted golden eagle standards were captured by the tribes, the ultimate symbol of Roman defeat. When the news of this disaster reached Rome, it sent shockwaves through the empire. The historian Suetonius tells us that Emperor Augustus was so devastated that he would bang his head against the wall, crying out, "Quinctilius Varus, give me back my legions." It was one of the greatest military defeats in Roman history. The loss was so profound that the legion numbers 17, 18, and 19 were never used again. The defeat at the Teutoburg forest effectively halted Roman expansion east of the Rhine River. That river would, for the most part, become the permanent frontier of the Roman Empire for the next 400 years. Arminius had single-handedly redrawn the map of Europe. But the story doesn't end there. Rome, of course, sought revenge. They sent their best general, Germanicus, the nephew of the new emperor Tiberius, to punish the tribes and recover the lost eagle standards. Over the next few years, Germanicus launched several large-scale campaigns into Germania. He fought several battles against Arminius's coalition, and even managed to recover 2 of the 3 lost eagles. He captured Arminius's pregnant wife, Thusnelda, and paraded her through Rome in his triumphal procession. Despite these Roman successes, Germanicus could never decisively defeat Arminius or break the Germanic resistance. Arminius proved to be a brilliant and elusive foe. The cost of the campaigns in both blood and treasure was enormous, and eventually, Emperor Tiberius recalled Germanicus. He decided that trying to conquer Germania was simply not worth the effort. Rome would retreat back behind the Rhine, adopting a more defensive posture. Arminius had won. He had secured the freedom of his people. However, a hero's end was not in the cards for Arminius. After the Roman threat subsided, the tribal alliance he had so carefully built began to crumble. Old rivalries resurfaced. Arminius, now hailed as a great liberator, was seen by some other Germanic chieftains as becoming too powerful, perhaps even aiming to be a king over all the tribes. This ambition and jealousy led to internal conflict. In the year 21 AD, at the age of just 37, Arminius was assassinated, not by a Roman sword, but by members of his own extended family who feared his growing power. It's a tragic end to an incredible life. For centuries, Arminius was largely forgotten by history, overshadowed by Roman accounts that painted him as a treacherous betrayer. But in the 19th century, with the rise of German nationalism, he was rediscovered and hailed as a national hero, Hermann the German. He became a powerful symbol of German unity and resistance against foreign domination. So, who was Arminius? A traitor to Rome, which had educated and honored him, or a patriot who used the enemy's own tools against them to liberate his people? The answer probably lies somewhere in between. He was a complex, brilliant, and ruthless figure who stood at a pivotal crossroads in history. His actions in the dark woods of Teutoburg didn't just destroy 3 legions. They shaped the destiny of a continent, ensuring that a large part of Europe would develop outside the direct influence of the Roman Empire. And that is a legacy few can claim. What do you think about Arminius? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.